County of Essex and the Secretary of the Havering Interfaith Fund. I am honoured to be invited here again on Holocaust Memorial Day. At this event, we are remembering the devastating actions of a racist and extremist ideology. During the Second World War, Nazi Germany and its collaborators systematically murdered Jews, Gypsies, the physical and mentally disabled people, and others. We know that the persecution occurred in stages. First, you had the election of an extremist leader. Then laws and regulations were changed to persecute the minorities. Then a media campaign to segregate and isolate the minorities from the rest of the population. Finally, multiple concentration camps and other detention sites were established across German-occupied Europe. It is with immense sadness that we remember what happened in the concentration camps, and we must all work together to ensure nothing like this happens ever again. Our thoughts and prayers go to the victims and survivors of these camps. We must learn lessons from what happened in the past and not allow these events to be repeated against anyone. Let us also remember the victims of atrocities occurring in present times, particularly in places like China, Kashmir, and the Middle East. It is my passionate belief that we must promote interfaith dialogue and cooperation. Living in a multicultural society, I believe it is important to learn and respect each other's faith and culture. I hope that events such as these can cement strong friendships and alliances between our communities. Thank you.
Attending today is a very moving service, and again you're invited, everybody's invited back for tea and refreshments at Romford and the District Synagogue in Eastern Road. Thank you.
Words, and all the others that want to say a few words can sit down beside me. And first of all, we'll obviously our Mayor, Stephanie.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you to ask me to say a few words, as this is not my synagogue, but I would like to say thank you once again for organising the event with Havering Council, Rabbi, and thank you also for inviting us here. Thank you to our distinguished guests. You know who you are, that's everyone. Everyone's our distinguished guest today. It's really good to meet together and to always remember. I'd like to thank the synagogue for giving us refreshments once again. It's very kind of it. It's very nice of you to invite us all back. I'd like to thank the Chief Exec for coming today. I'd like to thank the Leader of the Council for his very poignant reading of the poem. I'd like to thank the Mayor of Brentwood. Also we had the Mayor of Thurrock and the Mayor of Redbridge, who both had to go to other engagements. I'd like to thank the Interfaith Group, who I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm getting really to like seeing them, and it's really good to see you here again. Thank you for joining in always with things. It's really important, isn't it, that we all get together and talk to each other, or how do we understand each other? So anyway, I won't keep rattling on, and I'd like to hand over to, I think everyone knows this gentleman, Mr. Andrew Rossendale, the MP. So thank you once again, everybody, and I'll hand over to Andrew.
Madam Mayor, Reverend Sunderland, Deputy Lieutenant, mayors from other boroughs, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I think you've all had a copy of the Order of Service this afternoon, and I hope you've noticed the title of, or the theme of this year's Holocaust Memorial Day, which is the fragility of freedom. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that freedom, I'm afraid, is extremely fragile. I remember the 1980s and the fall of the Berlin Wall. I remember the 90s and that period of great hope. I remember the peace dividend and the idea that we were going into a period of stability where democracy would spread around the world, and that peace and freedom is now entrenched, and we didn't need to worry anymore because it's a gradual process of the whole world becoming like us, having liberal democracy and freedom and rule of law. All those years later, 30, 40 years later, we look back and how sad it is that in fact the world has gone in the opposite direction in so many ways. We see the rise of dictatorships in countries that we thought were heading towards democracy. We see brutal treatment of minorities in different parts of the world. We see internal insurrection, and we see democracy being challenged and undermined in countries that we hoped were heading towards the path of freedom and of democracy, but have had a reversal of that. And so when you think of all these terrible things that are going on in the world and the fears that we have about where this is leading, I ask you to think, come back home, come back to Britain, and think about our contribution, the British contribution to upholding the values of freedom and democracy and rule of law, and treating everybody as human beings, equal human beings. We have, as a nation, we have contributed more than probably any other in promoting those values. Now, we haven't got everything right throughout our history. Britain, like every other country, has made mistakes. But Britain, I believe, is still a beacon of freedom and democracy, a country that the rest of the world look to. And I have travelled, luckily, to many countries in the world, and it's interesting how people look to Britain, even today, and they respect us even more than some of people in our own country who seek to denigrate our history and our heritage and our traditions, and seem to want to take that away and almost put us in a category where we are questioning our own democracy and our own rule of law and our own traditions here in this country. So remember, we have a duty as a nation to continue to be one of the world's leaders, to promote all the values that we have fought for and defended over many generations. I'm still confident and I'm still hopeful that we have good years ahead of us. But the reality is that freedom isn't free. Freedom comes at a cost. There are times when you have to stand up to evil and you have to defeat those who wish to take our freedom away. And we've seen that throughout history. And on this, in this very solemn occasion of Holocaust Memorial Day, and I'm very proud of the fact that Havering, Ray, Councillor Morgan, that we continue that tradition. I don't know if other boroughs do the same, but I know in Havering we've maintained this tradition of remembering the Holocaust and, of course, other similar atrocities on this day. We've done that for many years. It's important that we never let people forget, because when people forget, it gets repeated. So let's continue to uphold those values, continue to educate everybody about the horrors that our forebears have had to endure, and let's resolve never to let them happen again. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. MP.